Broadcasting from the heart of the Colorado Rockies, it's 4th and 99 with your hosts, David Slade, Keith Brookman, and Matt Stappiero. Now let's talk football here on 4th and 99.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 4th and 99 Denver Broncos post-game show. I'm David, and joined with me tonight, as always, is Keith Brugman. Sorry, Keith, I got a little tongue-tied there, so maybe...
Hey, man, it's all right.
Maybe watching that game got me a little tongue-tied. But, hey, anybody out there watching, shoot us your comments, let us know your thoughts on the game. What's the Broncos' path forward, from here? And I'm sure Keith and I will dive into that a little bit. We'll break down the game a little bit, and we'll take a little glimpse into the future of what may be coming for the Denver Broncos. Matt is out tonight. I had some work stuff that came up from his real job, so that he had to take care of. So unfortunately, he will not be with us tonight, but I'm sure he'll be commenting in the comments. If you're out there, Matt, tell us hello. So, and this one here, good evening, fellas, and Happy New Year's to you and all of our friends at RMSR. Thank you very much. Not sure who this was, but thanks, and Happy New Year's to you as well. And unfortunately, the Broncos could not start the new year off on a good note, Keith.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, not what we were looking for. I was obviously, if anybody caught our pregame show, I was pulling for a Denver Bronco win today. I know that they had a lot of COVID members on the list, but was still hoping for a win. If nothing else, something competitive, and I don't think we got either of those really.
Oh, and that's our friend Kenny Kirkpatrick from K&K Sports. Thank you, Kenny. Thanks for joining us. If anybody gets a chance, check out K&K Sports. They're out east, but they talk all kinds of sports. Got some betting shows, gambling shows, and stuff like that. Check them out. They got good stuff going on. Yeah, it was. You were very optimistic in the pregame show, Keith. You laid out some good reasons how Denver could go and they could beat the Los Angeles Chargers. Vic Fangio has owned him, Herbert. Since Herbert's come in the NFL, and Herbert sort of he didn't have a great game. I mean, 22 of 31, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns. But we didn't put any pressure on him. He pretty much was able to sit back there and pick us apart, and we had a depleted secondary. Bryce Callahan was out. Ronald Darby was out. When you're facing people like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, it's gonna be problems, when you don't have your full group cast of characters. So Matt says, sorry, couldn't be there, gents, back and forth for work. Change the background. Oh, I guess I should change the background. Thanks, Matt. And this is why we need Matt around here. So
trying to do it all, Mr. Slade. He's producing as well as being our host and giving us all the content too. So.
But no, thanks for pointing that out, Matt.
Yeah, Herbert may have not went completely off. But one thing that I just saw is he was, even the San Diego Chargers, it seemed like they were able to do what they wanted when they wanted. Nothing more apparent than the fact that his 237 yards and 2 touchdowns, no receiver had more than 4 receptions, and had just a multitude. Mike Williams with 3, Eckler with 3. Allen with 4, McKitty, their tight end, with 3, Jackson, their running back, with 3, Palmer with 3. He was just spreading the ball all over the place. And then you add in the fact that, you have 17 rushes from Eckler and another 12 from Jackson as well. It just seemed like I said, they were able to accomplish what they wanted. And our special teams definitely did not put us in a position to be any better. And our defense, as depleted as it was, seemed like they were backpedaling most of the game.
Yeah, I think they hung in there as long as they could. Our offense really did not do horrible. I mean, we had a total of 319 yards of offense compared to 341 for the Chargers. So it's not like we were horrible, but there was some play calling and things like that, that were just baffling. And you're just like, what is going on here? Like the 4th and goal. I mean, that is not the time to pull out, dig into your bag of tricks. I mean,
It's your
and
second week in a row that you're loving it, Dave. First we start doing some RPO down on the goal line.
right.
When we haven't done it in the entire season for that matter. And now we're pulling out the Philly special, right? So
Yeah, and it's just like, oh my goodness. I mean, the Chargers sniffed that out so quick. I mean, Locke actually made a pretty impressive catch for a quarterback.
yeah,
And then almost got the thing into the end zone.
yeah,
So, I mean, that horrible play call there. And then we have the touchdown where Gordon, goes in from the 1 and then is called back because of a mental mistake and somebody didn't cover somebody up on the line. I mean,
yeah.
so you're talking 14 possible points right there that, were taken off the board. So,
Yeah, and put on top of it that there was a couple times that we could have went for field goals when we went for it on 4th down.
right,
So
right.
there was times we turned the ball over. We were aggressive today, obviously in that regard. 4th downs, we went for more 4th downs. We had a aggressive red flag thrown out on a obvious play that should have never had a red flag thrown out on the field. That was. Dave, you've hit it all season long. That red flag in Vic Fangio's hand is just one thing that's driving me insane. And I don't know what has happened to him or where he's getting his information from, or if he thinks that the video replay is going to be no better than what we had in 1987. But it was quite obvious the guy never had his knee down, and Eckler, and continued up the sidelines, and we've never should have thrown the flag and lost a timeout and made the
Right.
challenge. And
I'm wondering who's advising this guy to make this challenge. I mean,
I don't know if there's anybody advising him. I
is
think
he
he's
just
taking
doing
it
it
upon
on his
himself.
own?
It feels like
Yeah.
it sometimes. It certainly doesn't feel like he's waiting for the great information to come down from the booth before he throws the flag, because that one was a real obvious one. Of all the ones that he's challenged, this one is not a good one.
Yeah. If this is the worst that somebody has to say about Drew Lock, I will take it. And this is Kenny K from K&K Sports. He says, I watched some of the game, but I'm sorry. What bothers me about Drew Lock is you make one nice deep throw to Sutton, down 10-0, and you flex your muscle. I don't like that from my QB. That's my opinion, though. Yeah, I mean, but, I've seen some other growth from Locke. I mean, he threw a very bad pass to Noah Fant, and Locke went off before Locke would go off the field, and it would affect him the rest of the game. I mean, he was upset with himself. You could tell he was upset. He went over the sideline. He got it out of his system, and he came back and he moved forward. He didn't let that thing snowball. So if the worst thing that somebody's going to say about Drew Lock is he flexed his muscle after completing a nice pass to Cortland Sutton, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I do get their point, though. There was a few times in the game he just showed that younger immaturity that you'd rather not see, whether it be a flex in the muscle like that, or there's times when he was throwing his hands up. I guess for a quarterback, I don't like when they throw their hands up at the receivers, like, what were you doing? What were you thinking? And that's one thing that Locke does a lot of. It's just something you don't see from high quality QBs. They just want to get that play, like you said, kind of out of their system,
Right.
get back in the huddle, focus on the next one. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the worst that we're gonna throw at Locke is, I'm happy with the way he's progressed these last 2 weeks.
Yeah. In general, I would agree with you. I think, like I said, I think today was not his best game. I did see a little bit. Don't get me wrong. This Los Angeles Charger defense was after him quite a bit today, but a little bit more thrown off his back foot than what we saw last week. But he was backpedaling a lot in that pocket. So
yeah,
it's kind of a 50-50 on me. I just don't want to see him fall back into that regression into always throwing, not with your feet
Right.
set properly. You know what I
And
mean?
I'll go back and I'll rewatch it. But I
Yeah.
only saw one play where I saw a horrible throw pedaling off his, throwing off his back foot. I mean, the
Yeah.
rest of them were hitting targets, and it's like Mark Schlereth has said before. I don't care what foot somebody throws off of, as long as they're getting the ball to where it needs to go to. Look at Patrick Mahomes. Look at players like that. Aaron Rodgers throwing off his back foot all the time. I'm not trying to say Drew Lock is Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, but I mean, not everybody has perfect foot mechanics, and sometimes you just, if you're put into a bad situation where you, like you said, you're backpedaling, and because the offensive line is doing you no favors again. So I mean, but I only saw one bad throw that I think he would probably say, yeah, I shouldn't have thrown that one. And that's the one that what is his name? It's the safety, 33.
Oh, Derwin James.
Yes. He should have intercepted it. I mean,
Oh,
hit him
yeah.
right in the chest,
Yep.
So
Yep. I agree.
So, and that's the one play that Locke probably said, you know what? Yeah, that was a bad choice on my part. So,
Yeah.
I like. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, a couple of mistakes out there. Maybe a slight regression in some ways, but like we spoke in the pregame, this is a guy that we knew it was going to be under pressure all game long. His offensive line was somewhat decimated because of injuries and COVID. His wide receivers were certainly knocked down a peg or two, as we saw Seth Williams out there. No Tim Patrick, no Jerry Jeudy. So it was going to be a rough go of it, and this guy hung in there quite well in a situation, like I said, that was a decimated team. How many fumbles?
Zero.
How many interceptions?
Zero.
You know what I mean? Went out there and put together a pretty decent game. Put another touchdown on the board. Was getting long receptions, something that we haven't seen in our offense. So again. Though I'm picking on him slightly, Dave, saying there is some slight regression and some footwork and how I'd like to see him just step up a little bit in his maturity. Like you said, if those are the worst things that we're speaking of, we'll take it. I think he played a pretty decent game given the circumstances.
Right. So the last two games, I'll just throw you some numbers, Keith. The last two games, 33 of 47. So he completed 70% of his passes.
Yeah.
398 yards. No touchdowns. I mean, one touchdown. No interceptions. No fumbles. No stupid boneheaded mistakes that we're used to seeing Drew Lock make.
Yeah.
I honestly think, I mean, maybe him getting benched, especially behind someone who, like Teddy Bridgewater, who's not heads and shoulders above you, talent wise. Maybe it humbled him a little bit.
Yeah, and one of the things that we kind of hope for, and I think one of the things that he did get is Teddy Bridgewater is not a guy that's, just incapable and unwilling to teach type of quarterback. I think he's just the opposite. I think he's very capable when it comes to the mindset of a quarterback, and I think he's very willing to teach. And I think a lot of that kind of helped Drew Lock in this season a lot better than what we saw in a Joe Flacco. Who came right in and said, "I'm not here to coach quarterbacks. I'm here to, be a quarterback."
Right.
So,
no, I agree 100%. I think Drew, just watching Teddy and learning from Teddy, learned a lot of things. How to manage the huddle. You didn't see Drew Lock looking, scatterbrained and confused about plays coming in and everything else. I mean, he looked calm and cool the whole game. I never once saw Drew Lock lose his composure. Yeah, he threw his hands up a couple times. I think the one time I saw him throw his hands up where he was really frustrated is when Hinton just stopped on a route.
Yeah.
I mean, and so, I mean, yeah, and I've seen Tom Brady throw his hands in the air before at receivers. He's probably throwing them in the air to Antonio Brown right now.
he's probably got him up in the air going, not really sure what happened, but yeah.
and Victor has been a huge supporter of Drew Lock. Victor, I ask you the question. You're saying his trade value is going up. what about his value of George Payton maybe saying, hey, maybe this guy we can work with going forward, and how about we go ahead and draft, a QB and bring him in for competition and make Drew the starter next year and see where it goes and save yourself from draft capital for the next 2 to 3 years. Because as we're seeing, we have holes around this team. Reisner went out hurt today, and who came in and backed him up? Was it Schlottman? And,
Yes.
And Schlottman did not do well again today.
No.
Right tackle was not good. Cushenberry looked a little out of sorts today. He missed a few blocks. I mean, we have other areas we need to pick, and I'm with you, Keith. I don't want this how we've done it in the past. Let's not go out and just, we got to fix this right now. No, we don't. We got to fix it the right way is the way I'm looking at it. And I think Drew Lock is either someone you can use as a bridge quarterback to develop a rookie, or who the heck knows, Drew Lock maybe turns into a franchise quarterback. Crazier things have happened.
Certainly have. The thing that I like about, doing that, obviously, like we've talked about just the overall salary that Drew Lock is going to have next year, but really Drew Lock is getting to that point that what are you looking for in a bridge quarterback, even if you're looking for a bridge quarterback? Because if you go out there, most likely you're going to get a bridge quarterback, unless you have Aaron Rodgers as the hopeful, right? But again, we talk about Aaron Rodgers as being just decimating a team for years to come, in my opinion. I don't want to give up first and seconds and Albert O. I don't want to, I don't want to give up years worth of fantastic draft picks and in the hopes that this guy brings us something. And if he doesn't, you've not only overpaid him, but you've decimated your future.
Right.
If you go with someone like Drew Lock, you get a full year. You go out and you draft a quarterback. We all know that the draft class isn't great, so you're not going to have anybody that's really going to probably compete with Drew Lock next year, but you have a guy that can sit beneath Drew Lock, and at the end of the year, you have a decision to make.
Right.
Are we giving Drew Lock a contract moving forward, or are we going with this rookie?
Move forward with the rookie, right?
Exactly right.
And I think, honestly, for the best of the Broncos, and this comment here by Victor, I mean, I think we need to put a lot of this out of our mind. John Elway's going to be out of the picture. He's done in January, I believe. Joe Ellis is done in March time frame. We got George Payton, who we can't really blame him how quarterbacks have been handled in the past. Looking at everything, I'm thinking that Vic Fangio and Pat Shurmur and a whole bunch of other coaches are probably going to be gone as well. And just the rumors you're hearing about Vic that's now sort of sniffing around about other job openings, I think Vic may even know that, hey, the time has come. And then after today and just that embarrassment, it's probably the seat has probably got a lot hotter. So I think that you bring in the right staff, you can still work with Locke and a rookie QB and go the way you want. I don't even want to go this route because once again, it's a trade. It's going to cost you a lot of draft capital. He's going to want $35 to $40 million a year. And Russell Wilson has sort of fallen off the last year or two. Yeah. And you can't, everyone's going to say offensive line. Well, we don't have the greatest offensive line here either, So, I mean, it's not as bad as Seattle's, but, I just don't want to be chasing these veteran quarterbacks anymore. I just want to fix this with a 10 to 15 year guy.
Yeah, well, not only just a 10 to 15 year guy, but just something a little bit more internally and take the time to do it right. Right now we're set up, whether it be salary cap, draft capital, everything. We're set up very well, and to just to ruin it going forward again. I don't care if it's Russell Wilson who's on a downturn or Aaron Rodgers who, who knows, maybe his broken toe flares up and he ends up, not being able to play 8 games next season if you end up signing him. Then where's your season at? Where's your draft looking like next few years? Again, all of a sudden everything takes a downturn. We got lucky in a Peyton Manning. We got seriously lucky in a Peyton Manning. And then here's a guy that came off of neck surgery. Everybody was wondering, was he going to be capable? We also got lucky in that he chose the Denver Broncos. We weren't the only team that was out there courting Peyton Manning to try to come to them and win a Super Bowl. We got extremely lucky, and on top of that, as I say, on top of that, having one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game in John Elway, we're a spoiled franchise for as young as we are.
Right, and everyone needs to remember we didn't trade for Peyton Manning. We didn't give up all this capital.
No,
we didn't overspend and have this exorbitant $50 million a year salary with Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's the kind of guy who's like, I'll take less money so you can get free agents in here to build me a Super Bowl team. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to do that. Aaron Rodgers has come out and made it known he wants paid $50 million a year. That's not a team-friendly guy there. And Kenny K here says, well, if the price is right, well, right now they're talking 5 to 6 draft picks and players. That price doesn't seem right to me, especially for a guy who only has 1 year remaining on a contract that could come here for 1 year and walk away. Say either I'm going to free agency or I'm done. It's a huge risk.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you'd hope it'd be one of those almost like one of those sign and trade type of deals that they set up to where we have them for 3 years if it's going to be a trade of that magnitude. Because if it's only for a 1 year rental and you've given up years in the future draft picks, that's about the and paid $50 million on top of it. I don't know if there's a worse idea. Maybe Mike Ditka going and trading the entire draft pick for Ricky Williams,
Herschel Walker, or whoever it was. Yeah,
Ricky Williams. Yeah.
That may have been the worst one there. So, but
you know what I mean, though.
I know what you mean, and there's a lot of fans out there that want that. I mean, and Kenny again says he's meaning if the price comes down significantly. I don't think he's going to come back. Aaron Rodgers on another MVP type year.
Yeah.
And he might take the Packers to the Super Bowl and win it this year. And that price tag then starts going up, and Rodgers has even told Green Bay that he will sit down and talk with them after the season. So it's not 100% done deal that Aaron Rodgers is leaving Green Bay. I mean, everybody thinks it is, but Aaron Rodgers has even said that retirement's not off the board. So
yeah, he was leaning towards retirement before this year. He sounds like he's more motivated. At this point to play and continue to play. I think one interesting fact is I think Davante Adams is going to go ahead and tip the hand of Aaron Rodgers. He wants to play with Aaron Rodgers. He didn't sign a deal. He said he wants to be playing with Aaron Rodgers. I think Davante Adams probably ends up getting signed prior to Aaron Rodgers, and that'll probably tip the hand of where Aaron Rodgers ends up.
Oh, I agree, and I've heard Green Bay say they will aggressively go after Davante Adams.
I can only
imagine. If they go after him and they keep him, then that means that, Aaron Rodgers is probably in their plans. I mean, they do not have to trade him. Everyone needs to remember that. They don't have to trade him. And they can trade him wherever he wants. He doesn't have a no trade clause. So, I mean, if they decide to trade him, they could trade him to the New York Jets if they wanted, So, it'll be interesting to see, how George Payton handles this. But I think that Locke, over the last 2 weeks, and I know it's only 2 weeks and it's a small sample size, but even in the Cincinnati game, where we didn't win and we had the boneheaded play down at the goal line with the RPO, he still showed, good signs during that game,
I think, honestly, I liked his game against that game better than this game.
Yeah, right.
I just, he looked 100% in the pocket, making sound decisions, great footwork, stepping up, scrambling out, staying behind the line of scrimmage, keeping his eyes downfield. I mean, he just did so many things right in that game. Statistics did not play out in his favor. No touchdowns in 15 for 22, but fantastic performance in my opinion. Like I said, if he could duplicate that today with all the things we had going against us, guys out and injuries and COVID list, I was going to be a happy guy.
Yeah, and I'm not unhappy with what Drew Lock did today. I mean, yeah, he reverted back to a few bad tendencies, but you know, I saw a lot more positives than I did negatives, and that's what you always want to see when you're hoping for growth from somebody.
I talked a little bit about the Chargers receivers, but it also kind of just talks about a little bit of how Drew Lock pushes the ball around, and talking about our receivers. Noah Fant, who showed up fantastically today, best game I think he's had in the entire league. I just saw a little snippet before we got on. He was the #1 tight end in fantasy up at this time until kickoff before the Sunday night game. And that being said, 6 receptions for 92 yards and a touchdown from Noah Fant. Sutton 3 for 60. That sounds like about a 20-yard average for me. Gordon had 3 for 29. Seth Williams 1 for 34. That's a pretty easy average to figure out. Hinton 2 for 23. I mean, he was spreading the ball around as well, and he was pushing it down the field too. Especially when you look at Sutton and Fant, really pushing the ball around. So
yeah, 7 different receivers, 8 if you count Salbert, who dropped that pass over there on the sidelines. I mean, that he should have caught. So I think that may have been another instance where Drew Lock was just you know, but I like the way he moves the ball around. He spreads it all around the field. I can't wait to see the chart, see where he was. He looked a little more heavy on the left side today than he was compared to last week. And last week, everybody's complaint was, well, Drew can't even play on the left-hand side of the field, you know. And he had quite a few plays to the left-hand side of the field today. One of them was the touchdown pass to Noah Fant, which was a very good pass, you know, especially when you get down there and the area condenses, you know, and the throws are tighter, and he put the ball right on the money where it needed to be to Noah Fant. I mean, he got us into the red zone multiple times too, and you know, like I pointed out earlier, you know, some bad play calling and penalties and things like that took a couple touchdowns off the board for us. So.
Yeah, and we were aggressive. We were trying to stay in the game. We were trying to put touchdowns on the board. We were going for it on 4th and down. There's a few times that we came up short, unfortunately, and a couple times on the goal line or down near the goal line that obviously hurts us, you know. Could have put up, you know, maybe 6 more points on the board. Wouldn't have helped us at all, but to put up 14 in those 2 instances and put up another 14 points, all of a sudden this game takes a turn because it doesn't run away like it did.
Right. So let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball now. So a little shorthanded today. We're missing Darby. We're missing Bryce Callahan. We're missing all of our guys in the middle. I mean, it was just a monumental task to slow down this Chargers off. And they held their own for a while, you know, the defense did. And I think after a while they just sort of broke down. But I'm also going to go back to the point I've always made about this defense. Very good scoring defense, but they have problems getting off the field at times. Either one, they don't get the turnovers, or they can't stop teams on 3rd down. So, I mean, do you think? I mean, do you think this defense is a little overrated? Is what I'll ask you, Keith.
We're a great. Where I should say where we struggle is between the 25s, and you know, we get, you know, if they get the touchback, they're starting on the 25, and we struggle all the way down to about the 25-yard lines. We make people settle for field goals. We've even had some block field goals at times. I think we're capable of tightening up, but in some regards, I think we are a little overrated. Our cornerback, when we have guys that are out there and getting starters that are getting burned, you know, I think of the Fuller play, obviously, with Mike Williams, I believe it was, for the big touchdown. You know, that's disappointing. That's not something you see from an elite defense, I would say. How's that?
Right, and that's what I'm saying too. I mean, we don't see the turnovers, you know, that great elite defenses get, you know. So
not on a consistent basis. Obviously, we didn't come away with one this week. Last week it was Bradley Chubb, who came up big for us in a turnover. Probably should have had a touchdown, but came up short.
But then again, But then again, when we punt the ball back to the Raiders with, about 4 minutes left in the game, our defense can't stop them,
Yeah.
So it's frustrating. And a lot of people say,
a very, very good defense that can play like an elite defense at times.
Right.
But
right.
not an elite defense. I would agree.
Right. And a lot of people say, well, if Vic Fangio leaves, our defense won't be in it. Well, I don't agree with that 100%. I think you can get a defensive coordinator in here that could, push these players and get some stuff out of them, and maybe use different schemes and stuff to maybe create some more confusion and turnovers and things like that. But when you're not pressuring a quarterback like Herbert, you're not going to force them into throwing interceptions. I mean,
yeah.
So, I mean,
this, and I don't know if we should call this, I have a hard time judging this game. Like we kind of talked in the pregame, I was going to have a really hard time judging this game on lock, given the injuries that we had at receiver. I mean, the guys we had out as far as receivers and as far as offensive linemen, and how much that was going to be able to affect him. I'm kind of talking a little bit into what we're talking about now and how I saw his footwork maybe take a little bit of a regression, but I'm kind of giving him a pass because of those issues. And similarly, this defense was decimated. So when we look at, especially with the running game and what all the issues that we had up the middle, I don't care if we talked about from nose tackle all the way through our linebacking core. We were down some guys today, and looking back at all the games that we held opponents under 20 points in a league that's all about putting up big points, and we're talking about teams like the Chargers. The last time we played them, we're not just talking about, hey, we beat up on the Giants in week 2, but we're talking about good quality teams that we held in check with the game. Games like the Cowboys that we came in and just absolutely owned the Cowboys. So I almost want to give just about this entire team almost a pass because of all the COVID-19 issues we have in this game, and those that stood out. I'll go back to Noah Fant. Again, his best game, not only from a statistical standpoint, but one of the things that we've been talking about is his ability to catch the ball and then turn upfield and get extra yards and yards after catch, something that he struggled with tremendously throughout the season and something that he absolutely did not struggle with today. He looked fantastic out there. He looked reborn.
Yeah, he definitely did. And that's another reason I'll point out that what Locke did out there today may be even a little more impressive because of who he was playing with. I mean, he's playing with Hinton. He's playing with Seth Williams, So he doesn't have Judy out there. He doesn't have Tim Patrick, So
you have tackles out on the offensive line,
right.
You know what I mean?
Then Reisner goes out early, and speaking of that, has anybody heard an update on Reisner? So
I haven't heard anything. I'll see if there's any checking I can do while we're looking here, buddy. But yeah, it was disappointing to see him go out, even with the kind of disappointment that we think we've kind of seen from him as of lately. So,
right,
he hasn't played his best season of football, but at the same time, you don't want to be down. So you don't want to be down a guy like that either. So
no, you definitely don't. I mean, because there's a huge talent drop from Reisner down to the next guy. So especially with the other injuries we've had, with Glasgow going out for the year. So I think Mutek came in for a while and played in his spot as well. So and yeah, unfortunately, COVID injuries and everything else. I mean, so let me ask one other question, Keith, because I've seen this floating around the internet.
Okay.
I disagree with it, but I just want to get your opinion on it. The Broncos have quit on Vic Fangio. Do you see that?
No, I didn't see a team that went out there and actually quit. I see a team that was getting a little bit beaten down by the end of the game because of the, hey, anybody that's went out there and played, I didn't give up on my coach, but at the same time, man, it gets tough when a game gets away from you and, your game plan didn't work out and, they just keep hammering in out on you. It's tough not to have the the excitement out there every single play. But I think the guys played fantastic. I think that they were rallying to the ball and playing on every play up until the very end. So
Nah,
I have no problem with it.
And I agree. I didn't see anything that indicated anybody out there quit. We didn't have anybody take off their jersey and their shirt, and walk off the field, and give the fans a peace out sign on the way out. So,
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, I hope Antonio Brown gets the mental help that he needs. I mean, I think there's something going on with him. I mean,
Yeah.
normal players just don't do that in the middle of a game. So
No, and Tom Brady in his press conference afterwards kind of alluded to that. He said that hopefully somebody will be out there to put his arms around him and support him in the way that he needs. And Antonio Brown and Tom Brady are fairly close, so that's there's something to be said right there. That Tom Brady probably understands a little bit that Antonio's struggling at the moment, and people who have mental health struggles and unfortunately, I have family members who have mental health struggles. It's not a steady path. It's a roller coaster sometimes. So
it definitely is.
So he might just be in a struggle right now and needs a little bit of help, and hopefully he gets that help. You're right.
Yeah, I'm hoping he does. I mean, he's a great talent, but further, he's a human,
Yeah.
and we shouldn't just look at him as a football player. I mean, this guy's a human, and they go through the same emotions and everything else and all the mental issues that we face. So I really hope that Antonio Brown does get the help that he needs and the support that he needs. So, all right, next week, Kansas City. Kansas City's going to be playing for something because they lost today. Good call, Keith.
Yeah.
You nailed that one in the pick'em. That was a good game. I mean, I don't know if you saw any of it or not, but
I didn't. I was just watching like the ticker, I guess is the best way to put it. You know what I mean? Watching the reception by reception or how it happens.
They're down 28-14 at half, and you're like, okay, it's done.
Yeah.
So I flipped it over and I was watching the Ravens and the Rams because that was a pretty close game, closer than I thought it would be.
Yep.
And then I switched it back over and it was 28-24 all of a sudden. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? And then Cincinnati gets the ball again, goes down and scores a touchdown. I mean, I'll tell you what, Joe Burrow and that receiving core they're on fire right now.
Gosh.
I mean, these guys can be a serious threat in the playoffs.
100% agree.
If they fix those offensive line problems, and that has to be Cincinnati's number one objective in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Burrow has been sacked 81 times in 2 years.
Yeah.
You can't have your franchise quarterback getting hit like that. So
yeah, and the scary thing is especially after his injury and he was coming back on the whole nine, that was their focus. They put a lot of focus on that offensive line, and this is what focus looks like. Sometimes things are a long-term project and they can't be fixed immediately. Yep. Keep that in mind, Denver Broncos fan.
Yes. And Joe Burrow did go limping off the field towards the end of the game.
Oh.
He got whacked in the knee, so he limped off the field. Brandon Allen came in, took a couple snaps where they just kneeled on it so they could kill some clock and then kick a field goal. So, but Joe Burrow did. But when he was on the sideline, though, he was over there, standing. It didn't have doctors and everything else around him. He wasn't in the injury tent, so I don't think it's super serious. So I guess we'll find out this week. But they've won the AFC North.
Yeah, so, they look like they were going to be stumbling down the path, down the stretch, ran into us and at one point and put up a bad loss or put up that win. I should say, and got back on track and end up securing it. But what a wild ride for them,
Yep. And Kenny here says since he took a lot of heat for not drafting O-line, but man, Chase is special, and he is. He had 11 catches, 230 some yards, I think, today, or 260 some, 3 touchdowns. He had a special day. Well, last 2 games, Joe Burrow's thrown for over 1,000 yards, and he's had 9 touchdowns.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
yeah.
The guy's on fire.
I can. Chase happens to be a selection in my fantasy football. By the way, Matt never talks about this league that he's not doing so well in, and he's already out of the championship. But he's in another league that me and him are in. I'm in the championship. Jamar Chase put up 11 receptions, 266, 3 touchdowns today.
Wow,
just amazing, just a beast, man.
Which how many also points did that get you?
That would be 78.6 points.
Wow.
By
amazing.
A wide receiver. Yeah.
Well, see, and Matt didn't talk a lot about the RMSR K&K league either, where I knocked Matt out of the playoffs because he was like the 6th seed, and I dismantled of him easily and went on to the championship and won it. Matt doesn't bring that. The only thing he'll say about that is, well, I had to deal with injuries and COVID. Nobody else in fantasy had to deal with that, So
yeah. There's only one team that's had to deal with it, and unfortunately, you chose players from that team too. It's like the whole NFL has dealt with this, Matt.
Right.
Well, Kansas City up next, like you said, something for them to play for.
Yeah, Kansas City does have something to play for because they are the number 2 seed now.
Yeah.
So Denver's going to get their best shot. So let me ask you this, Keith. And we talked about this little in the pregame show. Who's your starter? Is it Drew or is it Teddy? If Teddy's cleared.
Yeah, honestly, I just don't see a reason for Teddy to be here moving forward. And that being said, I don't see a reason for Teddy to be starting next week. I think that we should go the route of, again, keeping Drew Lock. He's been in the system for quite some time. He is going to cost us little to nothing. I don't care if you bring in Aaron Rodgers or if you bring in, a rookie QB. I think that the right way to go is to let Teddy go. And if that's being said, then Drew Lock should be starting next week.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, you put him out there. I think he gives us the better chance to win against Kansas City, especially if our defense plays against Kansas City the way they did last time,
Yeah.
I mean, we held them to 22 points, and technically the defense only gave up 15 points because they had that was it a pick 6, I believe?
Yeah. Yep.
So I mean, the defense did a good job against Kansas City. I think that Drew gives us a better chance to score, push the ball down the field, and you saw it a lot today. Kansas City defensive backs like to put their hands on you, and they got a lot of pass interference calls today. So we pushed the ball down the field and put the pressure on those guys. Hopefully we get a lot of those calls. So.
Yeah. Speaking of that, that's another thing that we saw too. Do you remember when Drew Lock aired it out to Sutton? Got that pass interference call. It was like a 30, 40-yard pass interference flag.
Yeah.
Again, just things that we haven't seen, giving your guys opportunities, getting, heck, the receivers are so protected. They're almost as protected as the quarterbacks. Again, that's ways that you can get down the field. There was a call a few years ago about, hey, should we reevaluate and not make it as a spot penalty for pass interference, because some of these quarterbacks were airing it out at the end of games for 50 yards, hoping that, and then wide receivers, pulling a pass interference call and getting all the way down for game-winning drives.
Right.
We need more opportunities like that, and you're absolutely right.
Agree.
I think Drew Lock gives you that opportunity.
He does. And do you remember last year, the whole thing was take the deep game away from Drew. Don't give him those things. Don't let him throw outside the number. Yeah. The guy is throwing dimes now. I mean, especially outside the numbers. That pass to Seth Williams was
on point.
Beautiful. I mean, and then the one to Sutton, like you said, I mean, and it causes the defense to put pressure on them and they start making mistakes. So, yeah, I think definitely. And Kenny has a good point here. He says, run the ball, 40 plus times next week. I don't know if you can do that against Kansas City, though. Their run defense is pretty good.
Yeah, they're stout.
I think their weakness is you attack their secondary, because, like I said, if you start putting pressure on them, they're going to start getting handsy and they're going to start making mistakes. But we'll definitely break this down a lot more Wednesday and then next Sunday for the pregame. So,
yeah, absolutely. Probably we talked about it. Last thing I'll talk about real quick, Dave, is I think we need to get our special teams and certainly a returner figured out. We've been talking about quarterback for years and years and years. Our returner once again hurt us. Fumbling the ball, and I haven't seen anything from Spencer the entire season that has intrigued me as far as a return guy. So, just another disappointing thing when you're down that badly to have special teams, turn the ball over and not give your offense the opportunity to and your defense to get off the field and your offense to get back on.
Right. No, I agree 100%. I mean, I was sort of shocked when they kept him. There was really no point of keeping a guy like Spencer who takes up a valuable roster spot. If you're going to save a roster spot for somebody like that, they need to be special, and he's not special. And our special teams are a disaster. Today, I think the Chargers return guy averaged 74 yards a kick return.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
fantastic.
He had the 101-yard touchdown, and then the opening kickoff, he returned 47 yards.
Yeah,
and those are the mistakes you cannot
flips
make.
the field. At worst case, it flips the field. In that scenario, you're flipping on the scoreboard.
Yeah, definitely. So, that guy's fast too. Whoever their return guy was it Williams? Yeah. No, Andre Roberts. Andre Roberts. Apparently, he's a world-class sprinter, and he showed it on that kick return.
Oh my gosh! Yes, that guy. He can fly. I'll give him that. McManus didn't look like he was willing to leg it out too much to try to chase him down. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So. But hey, everybody, we want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. We know it's always harder when the Broncos lose, especially when they go out and just get smacked around in the manner that they did today.
Yeah.
Hopefully next week, they can close the season out on a high note, but maybe not. Maybe that just makes people think, well, Vic should stay around. So
you never know what wins will bring you sometimes, right?
Right. So, we beat Kansas City. We might as well keep him. So,
yeah.
But, yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. Check us out on Wednesday. We'll be on for our Wednesday show at 6 p.m. Be myself, Keith, and hopefully Matt joins us. And then, of course, next Sunday is our final preseason or
pregame show.
And then Matt and Keith will be heading up the post-game show by themselves because I'll be driving back from the game. So, and unless it's really a blowout and me and my brother say, let's leave early, and maybe I'll be home in time for the post-game show.
I hope we miss you then. I
hope so too. So because it'll definitely it'll start getting chilly. The high is supposed to be I think like 40 degrees. So once that sun goes down and everything, it'll get a little chilly. So
yeah.
But hey, we forgot to give a shout out to our sponsor, Willow Seasonings and Blends. Go to their website, check them out. Grab some seasonings and put a little spice into your life. So, all right, Keith, any other parting shots?
No, just try to lick our wounds and get ready for next week, man.
All right, sounds great. Everybody, you have a great night, and we will talk to you on Wednesday. Thanks for joining us.